welcome back to Disappointing Turtle. I am Creed from 439 and I'm not going to do any mucking around. I'm just going to jump straight in where I left off last time. I will backtrack a little bit just because I want to fill out some other little bits of information, but I'm going to try and squeeze in as much as I can. So this is part 2. If you have not watched part 1, go back and give that a watch, and that will give you a little bit of background and a little bit of history. So yeah, let's start by addressing the castles that Tara is accused of taking. So, over the last 3 months, the accusations of things kind of started off with one little thing, and then it was something else, and something else, and something else. So, part of the accusations, which everybody would have heard about, is the castles, 8th castle in particular. So, I did try and do some research into the castles. I wasn't provided with all of the information to a lot of stuff. So I know that there were some castles pulled into question that I didn't even know of their existence. I'm assuming it's quite before my time, one of them being Katana's castle, but I'm not sure about that. Mike had also implied that something had happened with his castle. Tara had taken that. I did have a private conversation with him and ask him if he could provide like any screenshots or just like conversations that they've had in line or anything that can support this, basically, so that I can show it as evidence. But he declined. And there was a couple of other castles, but again, I've asked for information and details on them and I've not been provided. But what I can show stuff on is Athena's castle, which is essentially what kind of started all of this anyway. After the excuse was no longer more Athena's castle, and by excuse I mean the reasons for the bullying, the justification for what was happening in KC and in line rooms and things like that, was essentially that Tara had stolen Athena's castle. So we will start with that. As I said in the previous video, the castle had had 3 owners in like 12 months. So Athena, Nets, and Tara. Athena gave the account to Nets. Nets was playing it on his own for a while, but then for whatever reason, he needed to take some time out, so he was just playing the account part-time and he was sharing that with Tara. Both of them were putting money into the account, both of them were spending, and that is just the relationship that they built up. Athena was very aware, or had been made aware, of the fact that they were account sharing and had even given them permission to bind it to King's Group. So, you know, that together with the information that she had said, like, no, you keep the account, I'm happy where I am, that would certainly imply that from that point onwards, that's Net and Tara's castles, as they were sharing the account and both people were spending. So, again, Net needed to not be playing for whatever reason. He needed to take a step away. And he left the account in Tara's hands, which, considering she'd been spending and had access to the Fun Plus and all of those sorts of things, for me personally, I would assume that that would have been the natural progression of that account. Athena didn't like this when she found out. Everything was fine up until the point that Nets had left, but then she wanted to regain access to the account and essentially take it back. Vern reached out to Tara, I think, after she and Athena had had a discussion themselves about the castle. Tara, had made a comment on KC during all of these sort of like verbal arguments and things like that, basically saying that she should have swapped castles with Archie because this one had a better airship. And that was twisted and taken as she's going to now not give this castle to Athena, she is instead going to give this account to Archie, whereas that was not the intention at all. And Vern did ask Tara about this, and she replied exactly just as I've told you. That was not her intention, you know, it was just a flippant remark, essentially. Now, all of this happened around the same time that Panzer hit Tara. So this is why, you know, I brought in the history of the kingdom in the previous video, is because it is important. Because the fact that these two things happened around the same time, in my opinion, is not a coincidence. And again, like I said, I have been told by several core players that the reason for all of this behaviour is because she's done one thing or another to other people. Now, I don't disagree that she might have said some really terrible things at points. I don't have actually any evidence of that at all, apart from the twos and fros in KC that just about every single person has chipped in on, quite frankly. And I have had quite a few people come to me and say, oh, well, Tara did this and Tara did that. But nobody gives evidence, just like all those other castles. One of the other castles that was brought into dispute was Vern's castle. I have been given screenshots that show that Tara helped recover that castle. She supplied receipts and things like that she had accumulated over the months prior in order to get that castle back. As to whether there was another castle of Vern's other than that one, I am not sure. But I don't know why she would help him gain access to his castle that had been stolen, and then steal another one of his castles or that castle. That doesn't make sense to me, but, you know, I don't know whether that happened or not. Also, this is kind of like living on the line of hypocrisy, but it did become apparent that, like, one of the members of Core had also very, very recently stolen a castle. And that castle was supposed to have been paid for in April. It hasn't, and as far as I'm aware, that castle that hasn't been paid for has already been sold to somebody else and resides within Core, and they are aware of that. So it just seems very hypocritical that they can yell and make one person's life hell over a castle and not say a peep about another one. If your kingdom is also in war, you can head over to the Huawei App Store and download Guns of Glory through there. They have got some really good offers at the moment, and they are running an excellent campaign up until the 6th of June. And you can get 30% of coupons. I think you can claim these every day, so up to 30% off. So definitely take advantage of that campaign. I have down in the description, there will be 2 links. One will be for essentially everywhere in the world, and the other one will be for the UK. It does exclude Turkey and Switzerland. So yes, just be aware of that, but everywhere else can use these coupons. Sadly, they do not run in conjunction with Guns of Glory Diamond Store, but Muffin is trying to work on something with that. So keep an eye on her page, because hopefully she can make some headway with that soon, because that will help everybody out loads. I absolutely know it. So yeah, download the Huawei App Store and take advantage of those really awesome coupons and get your percents off. Now, one of the other things that I mentioned in the previous video is how the castle came to be returned to Athena. Now, I've been pulled up saying that she wasn't bullied into returning the castle, but I don't believe that that is true at all. I saw it with my own eyes. The entire kingdom saw it, and anybody else that had logged in at that point pretending to be a troll castle. There was an agreement made by all parties. The castle was returned, and the shit did continue. I've got screenshots and videos of that, so it's not like it didn't happen. And yes, I know you're all saying, well, it's a retaliation for this and it's a retaliation for that, but nobody's willing to give anything to show what you're retaliating against apart from Athena's castle. And I've already shown that all parties were essentially aware of what was going on with that castle. But regardless, Tara did return it. So yeah, in dismissing those troops, I stand by what I said before, in that, because she had been paying money towards that account, she had been sharing it with Nets for a good length of time. That's her castle. She just dismantled her own castle. So, and that's all I'm going to say about the agreement. This is literally a conversation between Athena and Tara, which mentions the agreement. I have not made that up, which has been implied more than once. Now, something else that has been implied, because, I'm guessing core members keep leaving comments on my YouTube videos, it's amusing, because I can tell it's them because it's so specific. But whatever, it doesn't really matter. Is of essentially taking sides of the situation. No, I'm not taking sides. I've witnessed what has been happening. I have seen what has been happening. It's not about taking sides. It is about making quite a nasty situation known, because people shouldn't be behaving this way towards each other. This is not normal behaviour. I had a really good conversation with Sigil last Sunday, and even she agreed that things have gone too far. And they have. And at the end of the day, 241 is not the only kingdom going through this. I just happened to be in this kingdom, watching it. And in regards to me going to War Alliance, I was not in War Alliance until the release of that video. And the reason why I went there is because I knew that wherever I went, those people would be attacked. War were already being attacked. It made more sense for me to go there. And as I had already explained to other people, I had arranged to go to Pole previously, but actually they themselves were very worried about the backlash that they would get because of my video, because other people are constantly being punished for other people's behaviour, and this seems to be a running theme. I am being punished for speaking out about this all the time. It's not that serious for me. Whatever. There have been some really, really nasty comments said. In regards to what I was saying before with the agreement, one of the things within that agreement was that the kingdom motto would be changed, but Panzer has instructed every single king and queen since he came back to not change that motto. Now, if this was not his vendetta, then why would that be a thing? But I've also been added to that, so I know who's given those instructions as well. On top of that, I've had people shouting things over at me, comments being made in line rooms about me being a liar. I'm not a liar. I am telling a situation from my perspective. And I'm really sorry that you are offended that my view of the situation doesn't match that of your own. But I have been an outside spectator to this from the very beginning. And I had no intention of getting involved. Right up until the point that Panzer started making those threats. It's serious, guys. Like, I don't understand why you all make a light situation of it, because it actually isn't. Like, there's trolling and then there is a next level. And it's great that you think that you're justified in going to that next level. But I personally don't believe that there is any justification in going to the places where so many people have been. Not just core members. Loads of people in the kingdom. People that have whittled in, cake. Myself at times. Everybody has gone in on each other. I don't think there's one innocent person there that can say that they haven't chipped in at one time or another, whether it was intentional or not. But at the end of the day, you can't be behaving like this. And if you think that that is just my opinion and you don't want to believe me, then listen to this audio from Viserion, who has friends on both sides of the situation.
As I've said many times, I have friends on both sides. There are many questions to which everyone will have their own opinion. Who owned the castles in question? Did Tara have the right to disassemble everything she had access to? Which party is right in this situation? My opinion doesn't matter, because as I've always said, if you go about being right in the wrong way, you're also wrong. What I want to help you emphasize is the disgraceful behavior that goes on in this game between women specifically. I am not one who is easily offended, nor am I one to stay quiet when myself, or any other female for that matter, is bullied through her sexuality. The slut-shaming that goes on in this game is not just appalling, it perpetuates female stigmas worldwide. I live in a very safe neighborhood, and even so, my male friends will get angry with me for being outside on my own too late. I have friends that have been assaulted on trains for wearing tank tops, and I have counseled others through dire situations where they victimize themselves instead of those deserving of the punishment. This game is an escape from those problems for so many. This community, when empowered properly, is a necessary safe haven from real life. But so many bored, pathetic souls ruin that. It is damn difficult to be a female gamer. If you wear makeup, you're fake. You use filters, and you're begging for attention. If you don't wear makeup, you're ugly, and your husband is probably fake. If you say that you're a female, but you don't show your face, then you're a catfish, and you're ridiculed on what others perceive you to look like. You can only secure a nap because your mouth or your legs are open. Now let's sprinkle in some thirsty and unsolicited pictures. We are ridiculed, objectified, sexualized, and degraded nonstop. And it is shameful to see other women feeding into this by slut-shaming each other. Girl, if you're getting off by something attached to a human and it doesn't vibrate, you're doing better than me. If you're comfortable in your skin and you took pictures to embody that power, send them to me. I'll hype you up without any fear that those pictures will ever be used against you. Because why are any of us using any of this against each other? And what the fuck does any of our sexuality have to do with the game we play? What does it have to do with our strategy, our spend, or our ability to do anything in our kingdoms? If you said to a man half of the insults that you say to a woman, you would look like a fool. Because men are revered for their sexual conquests, where women are shamed for it. Women shouldn't have to have groups like Girls of GoG as a safe space, but here we are. And watching women, on both sides, degrade each other in such a manner, allowing others to dig at, be sexist, racist, crude, and slander other women, while you not only watch but support that said behavior, is more than I can swallow. As a community, we need to do better. GOG should allow mods to move between the kingdoms when any of these isms are reported over and over again. Racism, sexism, classism, ageism, etc. All of these things ruin the GOG experience for so many. And until GOG learns how to combat it better, we as a community need to be better. So you need to stand up, speak up, or shut up if you are the problem. If you're in this situation, please know there are kingdoms out there with people who would never allow you to be spoken to that way. There are kingdoms that work together, that build each other up, and despite any of their drama, they stay not only civilized, but they'll have your back to any outside force. Please, go and find your tribe. And if you aren't sure where to look, reach out to the community, because most of us are better people than the bullies you're currently dealing with.
So, in light of everything that Viserion has said, I hope that actually you might be able to see things from a different perspective, and understand that it isn't all about taking sides with one group of people over another. This is about putting your foot down and standing up and telling people that this is not acceptable behaviour. You cannot tell somebody to go and off themselves. You cannot talk about people's children in a derogatory manner. You do not get to offend people over their sexuality or your presumed sexuality of that person. You do not get to slut shame every single female that you come across because it's an easy way to piss somebody off. It's unacceptable. And actually, this is a really good segue into the whole reason why I got involved in this horrible, sticky mess in the first place. And truly, that was because of a decision that Panzer decided to take. So, essentially, Archie had a picture of Panzer on his profile. Now, the argument has been that this picture couldn't have come from anybody else except Tara. It had to have come from Tara, and this is why everybody was so angry about it. But I have also shown you in the previous video, you know, castles with Tara's name on that have been called like Cock Goblin and things like that, you know? So, tit for tat, they've all been doing it. This has been across the board, each and all. There is a castle floating around with Cake's actual picture on it, which has been sourced from God knows where, I don't know. And, you know, a lot of these castles, or all of these castles, do have very derogatory names, but don't think that this is a one-sided thing. Everybody has been doing that. I was sat in the forest, and, you know, there's a couple of castles that had appeared around me with not very nice names, because apparently this just seems to be the go-to way of trolling. Now, if that's what you get your kicks by doing, fair enough, whatever, but don't complain when somebody else does it back. Anyway, Archie had this picture of Panzer on his castle. He was asked to remove it. He would not, because the kingdom motto wouldn't be changed and the agreement hadn't been adhered to. So we're already going tit for tat at this point, and the situation is already escalating. So I log on. I hadn't seen any of the conversation before. I've also been pulled up for not including any of the conversation prior to this, but it wasn't actually anything to do with Panzer, it was in regarding to another player, and she's voiced her disgust over the comments that were made towards her, and yeah, I 100% agree with her. Those comments were disgusting and they shouldn't have been said, but unfortunately, I was not online by then, and because this had been loudspeakered over the kingdom for an hour, all of that had been run off. So yeah, I'm really sorry that I don't have those things, but they had been said by Cake, not by Tara or anybody else. So it's, you know, yes, it's very offensive and that's very sad, but it's still no justification for this, essentially. Panzer basically said that if Archie did not remove this picture from his account, then he was gonna share Tara's I have to think of a YouTube way that I can say this. Bex tapes and crudes. That probably wasn't much of a bad word to switch that for, but you know, you get the gist. And this was loud blasted over the kingdom for like 45 minutes, essentially on a countdown, you know, to put pressure. So they're putting pressure on Tara to force another player to do something. So again, she was essentially blamed for something that somebody else had actually done. Regardless as to whether she supplied that picture or not, I don't know, but I have been told she's the only one that could possibly have had that. But regardless of that, that's not her account. She didn't put that picture on there. Why is she the one being chastised for it? No matter how much I try and vocalise it, I'm accused of taking a side, and, you know, I reiterate it once again, this isn't about taking a side, this is about standing up for justice. And no, I am not Batman. But even still, I'm also not going to sit idly by and watch shit like this happen. It's vile. It's vile. It's immoral. And that's just how I feel about it. Panzer told me, fuck my morals. And that's fine. If that's how you feel about it, dude, good on you. That's absolutely fine. But I like to sleep at night. Tara's retaliation for these things happening, and also, I believe, a result of kind of being backed into a corner, essentially, and being put in that position in the first place, was to bring Cake into the OG room. Now, in hindsight, it was a fucking terrible idea. I'm sure Harley knows that this was a really terrible idea, but Cake sits on Casey constantly spewing shit all the time, and he had essentially told Tara and the entire Casey for months and months and months that he had a million screenshots that he could share that proved all this stuff, much like what I have done with this video, I guess. And so she thought that adding him into the OG room would give some sort of clarity to the situation, because it wouldn't be her and Eighth's word, it would be somebody giving evidence, I guess. I don't know. But cake is cake, and, you know, the OG room is a very special place. We got some good people in there with some great sense of humour, so they were not just going to let somebody walk in and start being a dickhead. You know, cake is cake. He does what he does. He's very good at trolling, and he did get on the wrong side of a couple of people who then ended up in 241, but for no other reason than to really see what he was up to. But regardless, him being added there cast Tara in a negative light for people that were outside of the situation, that couldn't see what was going on behind the doors, and I completely understand that. I got pissed off of him being in there. I asked for him to be removed several times. Several other people also tried to remove him. You know, I actually didn't look. I think he was in there for about a week, and I only saw maybe the first day, because then I was done. I was like, no. But I did ask Reap to get rid of him, you know, and at the end of the day, he shouldn't have been in there in the first place, really, and he didn't really shed any light on anything. But I think sometimes people are put into a situation where it is literally the last resort, and I believe, wrongly or rightly, that's what that was at the end of the day. Cake himself, while being a little bit of a pain in the ass on Casey, he has been used by lots of people within the kingdom to cause trouble over various times before I was there and since I've been there. And it isn't very fair, even since I have been there, because of the video that I put out before, and I said that he was bonkers, which he is, by the way. I'm bonkers. Lots of people are bonkers. But it was then really publicised on Casey that he had to go and watch that video. And the only motive behind that, quite frankly, is to make him then give me shit as well, because, you know, being in jail, being included in the motto, having Castle surround me with nasty comments on, and being shouted in KC and being called various names, obviously wasn't enough of a repercussion for me, because I spoke out against this shitty behaviour, and I stand by everything that I've said, and I will continue to speak out about this kind of shitty behaviour, because it just isn't acceptable, and I'm really sorry that you're offended by that, but maybe the reason why you're offended is because you know that you've said trashy shit and you don't want people to see it because you're ashamed of yourself. Now, that's okay, but the only person holding their hands up and actually having any sort of, like, accountability and saying, yes, I did shit things, is Tara. And actually, I will say there have been a couple of other people as well. Sigil has made comment to the fact that things have gone too far and stuff, so I'm sure she recognises as well that everything is a little bit mental. Ace herself hasn't actually had very much to say on Casey since probably the first 4 weeks or so into it, you know, but as I've said, there have been things from both sides, very identical situations, castles with people's pictures on, castles being named derogatory things, people yelling at each other in KC, like, it is very much you know, half of one and 6 a dozen of the other, as they say. Nobody's innocent in all of this, but you can't carry on treating people like this. There has to be an end to it at some point. This is not a way to communicate with people. This whole situation could have been handled completely differently, and, you know, that just goes to the testament of the fact that really this was all just a big witch hunt. Lots of people who all had a problem with the same person that got together and have done this. And whether it was retaliation from them, and there's been retaliation from the other side, whatever, it doesn't matter. I don't believe in retaliation. There's no closure in that shit. Why are you going to go around letting people live rent-free in your head and hold so much hatred over somebody that you can spew those kind of nasty things over a game that we all come here to enjoy, and there is no pleasure in this. And the really sad thing is everybody will leave, and all the people that will be left there will be the smaller castles that have been just trying to mind their own business and get by. Probably people that do join KVK and stuff like that, and they're going to end up being left in a dead kingdom because of this scenario. They didn't ask for this. What did they do? Is that also Tara's fault that the whole situation's been made so unpleasant for them as well? No, I don't believe so. That is a collective, and it's something that's still continuing. You know, migration's fucked. That's without a doubt. People have already been sucked in for taking an impartial stance. Butterfly was hit. You know, she lost a lot of fucking troops, and all she did was suggest that a wonder needed to go on a stronger castle for KVK. And she was right, because now that wonder is in the hands of a tiny little farm being held under a bubble. So she questioned that, and her castle got hit, and that was absolutely fine. So, you know, people like that as well owe no favours. Even though they were joining KVK, they were doing all of the things that they should have done. They were not getting involved on KC, but they questioned a wonder. Loads of excuses were given as to why Butterfly was hit. First of all, they blamed it on Lawman and said, you know, he says hi, and really, really ridiculed her for that. But when she didn't, that didn't really faze her. You know, apparently she was siding with Cake and agreeing with Tara, and really it was just two separate conversations that were happening in KC at the same time. So yeah, it was a blatant lie. So for whatever reason, she was hit. But my point being is that other people outside of this are very much being dragged down, and there's not really much reason for that. So if this is how it is now, then God knows what's going to happen over the next 6 weeks. So I think I will probably just end this video on this and say that if you're in a kingdom that is going through problems like this, and you're just sat there spectating, then you are part of the problem as well. You have to take a stand against this kind of behaviour. Just at the end of this, I want to reiterate, you know, that there are other kingdoms going through this as well. It is not just 241. Here is an example of Facebook just this week. And me highlighting this isn't actually to dig at anybody. I am just there. I'm witnessing it. I am a bystander, and this is my point of view of the situation from what I have seen and from what everybody else in the kingdom can see as well. So there is that. And all I can say is thank you very much for watching. I hope that if you are one of the kingdoms that is having a lot of bullshit like this, that things start to calm down a bit, or maybe, you know, you guys take a stand against this kind of behaviour. And don't forget to head over to the Huawei App Store so that you can claim some of them awesome coupons. And remember that there is up to 30% off, which is pretty good. Unfortunately, this does exclude Turkey and Switzerland. The links for this campaign is down in my description. The bottom one being everywhere else. The bottom one being the UK, and the top one being everywhere else in the world. So yeah, go get your gains. And thank you very much for watching. Yeah, don't forget to like and subscribe and hit the notification bell for the next video. I am hoping to shed some light on this new KVK format, which is a whole another situation altogether, and is going to probably cause a whole load more drama and overall make KVK not so good anymore, which is going to be absolutely dire for everybody, because let's face it, it is the only event that we're all coming around for now. So with that bombshell, I hope that you all have a lovely day and take care. Love you all loads. Bye.
Feels like I don't know you. You don't feel the same. It feels like